white mask. Black skin, white mask. And we are not doing much on this, but just to focus on the chapter 4 of the book, which is titled The So-Called Dependency Complex of Colonial Peoples. All this came about through his own experience or experiences that he had either of himself personally or of other people during his lifetime. So we are going to briefly introduce this, and because it is a kind of new work that we are doing, and the first lesson, and also for the benefit of most of us who will not have the time to read the whole book, I want to give a short summary of the book, a kind of an overview, to also help us understand the 4th chapter we will be talking about. So in our own world filled with racism, in which Africa is on the larger part, has been a victim, this presentation examines one of the monumental works of Franz Fanon called Black Skin, White Mask. It exposes the history, the nature, and the situation of the African people's experience of colonialism and its effect. It is based on philosophical and psychoanalytic theory that described and analyzed the experience of these Black people, you know, showing how they are being controlled by the white people, or who has been a subject of colonialism by this white-controlled society. Fanon conceived in his quest to remove racism, also that it is possible, we that we are fighting against racism, that we can become racist ourselves. Thereby that popular English saying that the victim becomes the victor, when you want to put on others what you have experienced. So he further stressed that the Black man faces an inferiority complex, partially to an economic inferiority that the white man has put the Black man. Because as we will see in the 4th chapter, we will see the idea behind this inferiority complex and why he is so particular about writing against it. But for the purposes of this presentation, as I said, a general overview of this book will be given, and we shall talk about the so-called dependency, the theory of colonized people, then a brief analysis as a conclusion. The time is short to be able to explore the major stuff of this, but the basic tenets also will be given. So in a nutshell, as a summary, we quickly try to meet the man Fanon. Franz Fanon was born in the French colony of Martinique. Permit my French pronunciation, please. In the year 1925, and he had his elementary and school education there. Then later there came the World War II, where he volunteered for the French army to be part of the soldiers. And after that, after he was freed from the military service, he went to France, where he studied medicine and psychiatry from 1945 to 1950. Then later he was appointed head of the psychiatric department of a government hospital in Algeria. Martinique is a colony, is a place in Algeria which was a French colony at that time. Also, those of us who are a bit concerned or known about all this, we can know what those colonies means. So after this, he began to experience, different things with the people he treated, the white people he met and the Black people he met. And this helped him also to come back to his own conscience, his own knowledge as an African. So as a Black man searching for his own identity in a white colonial culture, he experienced racism. And as a psychiatrist, he studied the dynamism of racism and its effects on the individual. Franz Fanon contributed a lot to the emancipation of the African people through writings and speeches. So for him, it was not enough to just come to know this problem. He began to give a kind of revolution to free the African people from these shackles of racism through as an effect of colonialism. So its major works include the one we are examining today, Black Skin, White Mask, written in 1952, and The Wretched Earth, written in 1961. Those are the two major books that could be referenced to him. These two works present Fanon as a psychoanalyst and a social philosopher. We should not forget, I said he studied psychiatry and medicine. Who's, as a social philosopher and psychoanalyst, he has this critics or whose critics, his expressions, his works against the colonial regime or white supremacy influenced some subsequent generations of thinkers and activists. So his works paved the way, laid the foundation for others to follow, to be able to build on this knowledge, on this thought. Apart from writing and all that, he worked with the Algerian liberation movement called the National Liberation Front. And in 1956, he became an editor of its newspaper, published in Tunis. In 1960, Fanon was appointed ambassador to Ghana by also the same foundation of Algeria. And on 6th December, he died of leukemia in the United States of America. So in brief, that was a man that has paved the way for us today and what we are trying to do. So in the introduction of this book, we want to give a kind of overview now, as I was saying. In the introduction of this book, Fanon reflects on why he chose to write Black Skin, White Mask. He argues that in order to understand racism, we must ask what man wants and what the Black man wants. Fanon seeks to understand the relationship between white and Black people and argues that both groups are trapped within their own racial identities. He argues that psychoanalysis is a useful tool for understanding the Black experience. When it talks of Black experience, it means the experience of the Black person. And please, maybe there are some of us who are particular with term. I might be using the Black man. When I use the Black man, I'm using it in a generic sense that includes both genders, okay? But the word Black here really refers to the race, the Black person, of the colored. And so he wanted to use psychoanalysis as a tool to understand the Black experience. And that through this analysis, it is possible to destroy the enormous psychological complex that has developed as a result of colonialism. This we will see in that 4th chapter, what he wanted to destroy. So he gives an overview of each chapter and ends by emphasizing that it is difficult to understand the true nature of Black experience because white society has created so many harmful myths about the Black people. So he articulated this book in 8 powerful chapters, which I invite us at the end to try lay our hands on once in a while to read. Written in 8 chapters, Fanon makes use of psychoanalysis to discuss the relations between the Black and white world. So in a nutshell, this is what the book wanted to address. That is the problem it wanted to address, the relationship between the Black and the white worlds, and why the Black man has been at the receiving end, and why the white European culture dominates and continue to justify colonialism, not seeing it as an evil in itself. So, to the main chapter that we want to address this evening, the so-called dependency complex of colonial people. Dependency complex is what he used as his own term to negate the inferiority complex that the African man has generated through colonialism as an effect of colonialism. But this inferiority complex has always been justified that it is as a result of the Black man himself. So in this chapter, Fanon opposes and he wanted to destroy and said, no, it is not. It is not the effect of the experience of the Black people themselves. They were not the one that generated this inferiority complex, but rather the effect of colonialism, what it has on them, how it has portrayed them, and what it has on their identity. It is this that has generated the inferiority complex. Inferiority complex simply means to see one so low that you have to depend on a higher being, higher position, higher, anybody who is higher, whatever you say, as higher to yourself, so the self-esteem is low, and the person see himself inferior, so small to that person. So he's saying that this is the danger that colonialism have caused us, and it remains with us. That is why in the introduction it says rather that African people in order or for the motive to fight against racism, they might find themselves being racist. It's in that way, and a lot of us have experiences where at the end, the Africans themselves, they became, or they are now, the colonial masters in that sense. A practical example is all the situation of our political affairs and phenomena we have now in Africa. It's nothing but where an African man who was once victim of all this have become or wants to become victor, and it's a pity to our own people. So moving forward, this is the chapter of Fanon's book that, like I said. So Fanon introduces the subject of this chapter, which is a book, Prospero and Caliban, The Psychology of Colonization. This book was actually written by Octave Manoni who lived between 1899 and 1989. So this is the book that Fanon wanted to oppose, that he criticized. He only praised Manoni that Manoni was intellectually honest, but that has managed to grasp the psychological phenomena in the colonial situation. But he has not grasped the true coordinate, that is, what actually provokes that, or the effect of this colonial situation. So in other words, he and his book, that is Manoni and his book, are wrong, as Fanon aims to portray the error in the thought of Manoni. So Fanon objects strongly to Manoni's idea that the inferiority complex, remember I said the so-called dependency complex, is his own term to overturn this inferiority complex, that what Africa is actually suffering from is a dependency complex. When something is complex, something is, it means it's as extreme, it's so big that it's not easy to get what it entails, the details. So it's complex, it's not easy to examine, to know. So dependency complex for him is the problem of Africans and Africa, not inferiority complex. But what Manoni wrote was inferiority complex. And not just that he wrote that, he justified it, that it was a problem of Africans. So this is what Fanon, that is the problem he was trying to analyze. So he objects to this idea that this complex, that the inferiority complex of the colonized, the colonized, that is the African people, existed before colonization. Imagine, that was what Manoni was saying, that Africans have always been inferior even before colonization. Before proceeding, he said that a society is racist on itself, and that is not profitable for him, for Fanon. That is not a profitable argument about the degree or extent to which a society is racist. you know. So the idea that Africans are already inferior before colonization due to the childhood experiences and all that, for him it does not hold water. It has nothing to, it cannot be justified. Moreover, he stated that Manoni's analysis is a failure because he has failed to consider the despair of the black man confronted with the white man. He takes issue with Manoni's description of South Africa. What has Manoni said about South Africa? Saying that the problem of South Africa was not even because there was this racial stuff, but because the Africans, even though it was predominantly black, that they were the problem. So Fanon points out that the poor South Africans, whites, hate black people for no more complicated reason than that South African is governed by a racist structure. So he extends this, that it's not just because majority are this and there is a kind of hatred, but because the structure now, not just structure of South African, but the structure that envelopes everything supports that idea. So not only that, but so does Europe itself. So if the structure that supports South Africa is of that idea, he's saying that they are able to do that also because it is the Europe as a continent itself, the slave masters, the colonial masters, they also are the one pushing for this. This is in contrast to Manoni stating, that France is unquestionable, one of the least racialist countries, that France is unquestionable. On what ground can should Manoni say this, that France is unquestionable? It's an evil and an unjust way to say that colonization, no matter how or in what form it takes, that it can be justified. That statement in itself is malicious and should not be sustained. Manoni claims that the inferiority complex is found in those who are a racial minority. Fanon rubbishes this by pointing out that in South Africa, blacks are by far the majority. So he was saying, if you are saying that the fact of inferiority complex also happens to those who are small as a group because they feel threatened by the larger groups. And no, if that is the case, South Africans who are blacks, they are the majority. So why are they the ones suffering this inferiority complex? Manoni's description of his theory of inferiority among the Malagasy, that is the inhabitants of Madagascar, receives similar scorn, because Manoni claims that the arrival of whites in Madagascar caused the Malagasy to strive to achieve equality with whites, having discovered they were human. That is, they want their own way of seeing themselves as humans is to immediately continue to ascribe to be like the white. That was what Manoni said. Fanon counters that the Malagasy suffered an unmistakable word. If we are conversant with the history a bit of Madagascar, maybe all this point can make more meaning to us. They suffered an unmistakable wound at the hands of the white colonists who upended existing history, culture, and government for their own ends. That is, they continue to enclose these people for their own hands, to be able to make their culture, their history, and their government their own hands. So it is not that the Malagasy have a desire to be subjected to rule. It is that the white settlers decided to rule them. That is, taking Madagascar as a case study, like other African countries that went through colonialism, it was not that they wanted to, or they have this desire, it was their will. No, but it was that the white settlers decided to rule them and to decide to do something in such a manner with force, by stripping them off of whatever that is identical or that is of identity to the African race. Fanon next describes Maimonides' account of 7 dreams. Maimonides in that book describes 7 dreams, where he said that the dreams are a kind of reflection of what the Africans always have in mind or go through. For instance, when you dream of colors, black, or all these things, there are a way that these things are evil. They are demonic. They are satanic in themselves. So he's saying that the dreams the Africans do have also is a way always to justify that it's part of their childhood experience, always to justify that this is that the inferiority complex comes before colonization. So he then departs on his own reminiscence about his military service. Fanon specifically discusses his experience of encountering ethnic rivalries among the people, in the French armies. He does this to give a kind of these dreams in their own social context, as the socials is more important than the individual in some cases. So dreams must be put in their time and their place to be understood. That is, they must be contextual. In the case of one, the Senegalese soldier's rifle is not a penis. No, it is a gun, a rifle that the dreamer witnessed and suffered trauma in witnessing. If you read other chapter of this book, you will understand it, where it talks about the black man and the white woman, or the white woman and the black man, talking about one of the things the Europeans sees about Africans is to see them as a sexual object, that the guys are very good and they have nothing to do than to impregnate women. So you are at puberty at 9 and at 10 you are a father. He quotes that in some passages of the book. So this statement of the Senegalese soldier's rifle is not a penis, it's a way to counter that idea, that the Africans have been marginalized, stereotyped on this based on their race, who they are. It is not only the colonized that Fanon wishes to describe in neurotic terms, that is using the neurons and neuroses of our body with the brain, but the colonizers. He introduces the raison d'etre for colonialism, which is the Prospero Complex, named for the magician father in Shakespeare's drama, The Tempest. Those who are into literature can get that. This is described as the picture of colonial paternalism, and also the fear of a father that his daughter, like what I was saying, projecting the African man as only good for or sex or assaulter, projecting that the European father will be scared that his daughter will be assaulted by a racially defined other. And who is this racially defined other? It's the African man, the black. Fanon, this is a typographical error, verily, and with passion, counters that the root of colonialism lay in the desire of Europeans to become rich. That is the objective, their aim, why they actually colonized, why they actually enforce their own rule on others and make others to feel low and inferior, is because they want to become rich by stripping others of their own richness. So sorry. So in a nutshell, that is what Fanon wants to discuss in that chapter 4, because that chapter 4 is a link always to other chapters of the book that he described. The next chapter now is also a very powerful one. We talk of the fact of being black, or the fact of blackness in some other ways. So for Fanon, or the argument that Fanon tries to elaborate, that inferiority complex precedes colonialism was what Franz Fanon decided to counter. And he did this by developing this idea that what Africans are actually suffering from is what he called in this particular chapter, the dependency complex. That is, it has become so much complicated for them that they have nothing else than to depend on this white or European people who have seen themselves so superior. They see themselves superior in thought. They see themselves superior in economic supremacy, in language. They see themselves, superior in everything. And now the African man have to always try to evolve himself by trying to become like them. For instance, he made one example in the course of the work, that when you talk of language, for instance, the fact of language, how important it is also for race, while it is not a problem in itself, because individuals have some language that unites them, just like all of us here now, we speak different language, but in itself, it's not a problem. But this is what that first phrase I said, that when the victim becomes a victor, he said that, referring to language, that you see a black man now who have learned an European language, take for instance Italian or French, and he sees his fellow African who has also learned that particular language. He now justifying that statement of victim becoming victor, we always find error in his own black guy who, through his own accent, of course, some words will be pronounced the way it could be pronounced, but we always want to correct that guy, trying to say, I am superior to you. And with all our experiences in different phases, religious contexts, political contexts, social context, in everything that unites us in Africa as of today, I think that is the major problem, this dependency complex, that has been gotten through the inferiority complex, that we have been made to be inferior to the extent that we are now depending on the European people, especially on economy. A lot of our so-called Francophone countries, still have their valued currency tied to France. They are not yet free. So the people labored, and France determines the value of what they're labored for. That's just one out of many. We know how other things. So we can continue, but the beauty of this class will be that after this, we take this as a courage also from the person of Franz Fanon to dive more, to read this book, to read this book. And in conclusion, I will say, because the time is going, so that we can give time for questions and other contribution, I would say that the importance of the person, works, and articulation of Franz Fanon cannot be underestimated if Africa and Africans must rise to decolonize themselves. So this book is a must for every African who shares in the sentiments of Fanon. However, even though these elements of European supremacy still exist in our time, it should be noted that the dynamics of times have shown that things and times have changed, and things have actually improved from when Fanon shared his writings. What I mean here, this is my own thought, my own analysis and reflection here, that even though everything that Fanon said is still evident in our day today, in our own time, actually things have improved compared to the time he wrote this book and the time other authors followed. That was why I said his works and his person set the pace for others, other activists, other thinkers, to elaborate and to continue discussing this. So I feel that things have changed. For instance, one of the changes I have seen now is this initiative of having this political awareness through these studies, through this sharing we have about these authors, these figures. So it's a change already. During his time, it was not possible. It was only gradually through the effort. So it has reduced the effect of supremacy. These European supremacies have reduced. For instance, part of the book, like I said, talks about the black man and the black woman, the black woman and the white man. Now, then we can see also the effect that the African women were subjected to. But now we have seen that there have been a lot of progress on women advocacy, African women advocacy. A lot of them have taken powers in their hands. A lot of them have become responsible for what affects their own lives too. So that is what I mean by that. The dynamics of the time of Fanon has changed, and things have really improved. With reflecting now on this particular chapter that we shared, with the call for a decolonized Africa, which Fanon has talked about, I can say that Fanon's writings can be critiqued, that even with the existence of the so-called dependency complex of colonized people, like a lot of us, we still depend on them by seeing the European as our liberation. The black man has also realized the reinforcement of whiteness as an inferiority complex. That is, now those who have studied, those who have tried to emancipate themselves, those who have tried to journey through the history of Africa and have tried to know the problem, are now turning actually this problem back. That no, it is actually the whites who are inferior in everything. Because if, as Fanon said, and we agree with him, that the end or the aim of them colonizing people was for them to become rich, it was because actually they saw themselves so small. So Africans now, to still tell you that the times have changed, Africans in our own time now, a lot of us, at least myself, I have realized more that no, it is the whites who are actually inferior that exist, that the inferiority complex that exists for the white man it is for them, not for the black. So moreover, the black man and woman have come to terms with the injustice caused by the white man. That is, they have accepted it, as a result of this inferiority complex. They've accepted it that it was a fact, it was something that happened. But we can't continue. If we want progress for ourselves, if we want freedom from ourselves, we can't continue to be crying over spilt milk. We can't continue to be overflogging this idea of colonialism. Yes, we must know that it was something that happened in our history. We must know that it is something that affected us, that affected our identity, that even changed a lot of us, but we must also move forward. We must move forward by trying to decolonize this mentality, helping the younger generation and ourselves to understand that the identity of Africans remain an identity and not the identity we are being labeled for, we are given because of colonialism that we pass through. So the shame of the black skin is being abolished through this gradually. For me now, I'm proud to be a black guy. I'm proud to be a Nigerian. I'm proud to be an African. So the shame that was attached to the black skin before now is gradually, through this freedom of the mind, is being abolished. And however, it is abolishment, that cannot be by the means of a white mask. That is, we cannot, a lot of us, this white mask, maybe we need also to talk about it. It actually also means that some of us, even though we are black, we do what? We put on the face, of these European people in acting out. And that is also the same meaning with the victim becoming victor. A lot of us, we study abroad. we go back and we become thorns in the flesh for our home people. A lot of our leaders, 95% of them studied abroad, early grassroots, fought against this, but now using it against their own people. So that white mask, you know, putting the figure, putting the identity of a white man to attract others so that you can continue in that form of supremacy is what we should continue to go against. But the fact that the writings of people like Fanon, you know, has created, has helped us also to reduce the effect that it has caused, and we are changing the story gradually against them. So thank you for listening to this talk and this topic. It's a topic that continues and that is connecting with other lectures that we'll be listening to in the course of this our political journey and studies. Thank you very much, and welcome now if you have questions or contributions.
Thank you, Felix, for the wonderful presentation. È una questione di complesso di inferiorità o complesso di dipendenza. Penso che sia una cosa che possiamo continuare ancora anche a riflettere, ad approfondire. All'inizio abbiamo fatto girare un po' il video che porta il messaggio di Tony, siccome non eravamo tutti, quindi facciamo di nuovo vedere questo video e poi mentre facciamo vedere il video potete già anche preparare le domande oppure anche gli interventi che volete fare voi. Now we listen once again to the message of the GC.
My name is Anthony Aliakwe Odio, General Coordinator of Correct Connect Africa Foundation, CCAF. I bring you warm greetings from Lagos, Nigeria, to all the participants of this year's Sankofa Political Studies, Season 4. In this season, we are focusing on 3 authors, 4 books, and 12 lessons. Each lesson has been given to capable hands for exposition and explanation, and we trust the presenters to do justice to the allotted topics. This is another opportunity to come close to our roots, the African roots, and to better equip ourselves with the knowledge that is African-based and African-oriented. This is Sankofanization. This is going back to our roots. Hotep.
Okay, that is it. Somebody is raising up his hand already. I think I saw Edward raising up his hand. Edward, are you there?
Edward, she say.
Okay, the floor is open for whoever has a question.
Say that I said rubbish.
No, it's obvious that the position was so clear. So then we have Abisola, right?
Yeah.
Abisola, you have the floor.
Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Okay.
Can we see your face too?
You can go ahead with your question.
Okay. I just want to, while listening, thank you, Father, for the contribution. I think there are some key points that I noted here.
Yeah.
When you were talking about colonialism as a form of domination.
Yeah.
Okay. You also said Fanon saw violence as what's called defining characteristics of colonialism. Then you also said colonialism is a type of individual relation, but something conquest of a nation. But my question is imperialism.
Okay.
While going through what's it called? While going through what you presented, there was nowhere you mentioned imperialism, knowing that it was colonization that brought about imperialism. So I was expecting a little bit of input from that, because up till now, Africans, we are still suffering from imperialism. The Europeans, for example, that colonized us, they are still, what's it called? They are still having influence on us. And I want to believe most of these countries are preparing for Third World War, if there's going to be something like that. So majorly on imperialism, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Abisola. Abisola is one of our contributors and from Nigeria, and she's in the field of African studies. She's having a master's there. Yes, what your question is very right. Imperialism as an effect or as a consequence of colonialism. While I don't talk about that, I want to remain true to the subject at hand, present what the author is trying to talk about. But you are very correct. The imperialism, for those most of us know, as a form or policy of extending somebody's superior power to the inferior one. So if you look at it also deeper, Abisola, you will see that the question of inferiority complex still comes down there, because if you don't see somebody as inferior to you, you will not want to be imperial. You will want to be supreme to that person. So you are correct in your observation as imperialism as a form or consequence of colonialism. But why maybe explicitly I don't say that is trying to talk about the dependency, inferiority dependency, or the so-called dependency complex, the complex of Fanon, so that we remain in the frame of discussion. Thank you.
Okay, we can still have more questions or contribution. You can be also.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You have the floor.
See, I'm from French-speaking.
Okay.
I don't know if I can speak fluently English, but
you can also speak in French. There are people who understand you, and who will respond.
Okay, that's okay. Merci beaucoup pour la présentation. C'est ma première fois de participer à cette rencontre. Je me réjouis d'entendre ces noms historiquement africains qui sonnent dans mes oreilles. C'est intéressant. Et une question que je voulais poser, je ne sais pas, Franz Fanon est mort en 1960. C'est l'année où nos pays prenaient leur indépendance. Est-ce que l'idée de Franz Fanon a été relayée jusqu'à maintenant? Est-ce que quelqu'un a pu continuer l'idée de Franz Fanon à défendre plutôt la décolonisation de l'Africain, de l'Afrique en elle-même? Est-ce qu'il y a certains auteurs qui en ont parlé et qui ont essayé d'aller au-delà ou bien en avant de la pensée de Franz Fanon? Merci, c'est ma question.
Ok, grazie. Non so se magari Don Venanza anche vuole rispondere.
I try to translate. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Ok. Felice ha chiesto no, che Franz Fanon è morto nel 1961, 60 o 61 mi sembra, se c'è una eredità del suo pensiero nel contesto attuale.
Okay. The heredity of, okay, for our English friends, what the question was that after the death of Franz Fanon in 1961, if there was or there is a kind of what's it called, heredity, no?
Heritage or something.
Yeah, of his thoughts. Explicitly, my little knowledge.
The legacy.
Okay, legacy. Thank you. That's the word. The legacy, yes, the legacy goes on. You know, like I said, it became the part of the fundamental basis on which other African authors wrote on, and became a kind of quest for other, what's it called, activists. Like we ourselves now, we are activists in this African battle of whatever. So reading the works of Fanon, for instance, we are his legacy. We are the one to, because he died, leukemia cut short his life. He could have done more, you know, but with what he had on time, we are now to push on this. So actually, yes, there is a legacy. Maybe he did not hand over, he did not, maybe not like some people that have disciples in their thoughts in the school that follows them, their students. No, not in that sense. But people, Africans who met him, who internalized him, like the Algerian movement he joined, like when he was ambassador to Ghana, all those thoughts he left became his legacy. And like we, in the present day now, we are his legacy. And if we have not become, we should become his legacy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, we're still open to one or more questions so that we can also round up. We are almost finishing the time that we allotted for the talk. Si può anche parlare in italiano per chi magari si sente di parlare in italiano. In the absence of any question or any contribution, we may also ask Felix the usual question, the one that we ask everybody. Going through this kind of...
Scusate. Ancora una domanda, non so.
Ah, ok. Sì, va bene.
Le complexe, non, le racisme à l'inverse. Le racisme à l'inverse. C'est-à-dire, si nous ne faisons pas attention, nous allons tomber dans le racisme à l'inverse. C'est-à-dire que nous allons plutôt afficher un racisme à l'encontre de l'autre envers qui nous pensons qu'il est raciste. C'est vrai, enfin, c'est comme ça que j'ai compris. Comment se fait ce racisme à l'inverse? Non so si, je ne sais pas si vous m'avez compris.
Il razzismo, sì, Pascal, vuoi tradurre?
Sì.
Ah, ok, go on.
No.
Se ho capito bene la domanda, Felix, se ho capito bene la domanda, si sta chiedendo come si fa al rovescio il razzismo, cioè il pericolo che noi corriamo di diventare anche razzisti nei confronti di quelli che fanno il razzismo nei nostri confronti.
Sì, esatto. Sì, è questo.
Sì, cioè diciamo che la possibilità per noi che eravamo vittime per diventare anche razzisti, no? Per gli altri. Okay. So it was asking, no, this theory of victim becoming victors that I talked about, what can we do to eliminate, you know, to reduce this effect of we becoming or making others, creating this racist culture among ourselves? Well, this is my own personal opinion. I would say the first thing is to know that we are all humans. Okay, to start from the fact of being humans, and that every human being needed to be respected. So if we understand this basic value that cut across or does not have anything to do with partitioning, either religious, culture, tongue, color, then it will be easier for us to see that whatever area we find ourselves, we are to exhibit those elements that can uplift human person. So we will not be able now to see ourselves as superior to that person or as some, we are, and this issue of supremacy in itself is difficult because we are not always equal. Okay, like we talk of intellectual equality now, it's not, because we know that the cognitive capability is different, for instance. So, but I will not say that because maybe I can read book very well now, therefore I am superior to somebody who cannot read book, or because I can speak Italian, I'm superior to someone who cannot read Italian. In itself, that is wrong, you know, because when you talk of cognition, there is cognition, intellectual skills, there is also cognition skills. So to respond to your question, basically, I would say that we have to start from the fact of the human person, you know, seeing the human person as the starting point, you know, il punto di partenza, you know, and from there, and not the accident that is attached to the person, like color, where is it from? Does he speak my language? Those are accidents. Those are the things that comes with the human person. But if we start with the human person, who the person is, then I think we will reduce drastically this effect of racism or the tendency, the possibility for us to make others victims of racism. Thank you.
Grazie Felix. Grazie anche Cuggio Bini per la domanda. Grazie. Ecco. Abbiamo Don Venas che si è alzato la mano. You have the floor.
Good evening to all of you. I have no question. Let me just greet Sister Sylvia, who is following us from Cotonou. Sœur Sylvia, merci beaucoup. Je sais que tu es très prise, très occupée, mais tu as fait l'effort d'être présente. Merci infiniment. I would want to also greet our brothers of Urbanian University who are following us now, Daryl, and I welcome Brother Kojobini. Merci infiniment d'avoir répondu à l'appel. Voilà. Buon anno Sankofa a tutti.
Grazie mille.
Grazie Don Venas, ringraziamo tutti che sono presenti e siamo lieti per questa partecipazione. Abbiamo un numero molto alto anche stasera. Ecco, non so se ancora, I don't know if somebody still have a question or a contribution.
C'è Pasca che ha alzato la mano.
Ah, ok. Please,
forse diamo anche magari prima di concludere diamo la parola a Sora Silvia se vuol dire qualcosa. Ecco.
Ah, ok.
Sì, grazie.
Abbiamo Pasquale che voleva dire qualcosa?
Solo volevo anch'io salutare qualcuno che ci sta seguendo da Kinshasa. È un ragazzo che ha avuto come allievo, alunno, adesso è un grande universitario già che sta finendo. Donc, j'ai salué, Dieu le veut. Je le vois en ligne, en connexion, même s'il est entré un peu en retard, de Kinshasa. Si tu peux mettre un peu la vidéo comme ça, on voit ta face, on voit comment la face de ceux qui sont du Congo, comment ils se présentent. On te voit, parce que c'est la première fois qu'il participe à cette rencontre et je le remercie d'avance d'avoir accepté aussi l'invitation. Et je sais qu'à travers à travers lui, à travers toi, il y aura aussi beaucoup d'autres qui aspirent, disons, à ces études. Ils pourront entrer en contact avec nous pour essayer aussi de commencer à boire à la source, retourner à la source, à nos racines. Voilà, et voilà que vous le voyez là-bas. Même si chez nous, il y a toujours des délaissages de courant un peu dans le noir. Mais bon, nous savons voir sa face quand même. Merci d'avoir répondu à l'invitation de l'UE.
Ok, grazie.
Yeah, Kunle.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me say one or two things just to welcome the new persons that we have here from Nigeria. We have Esther Julian, we have Anne. From Ghana, we have Edward K. Boateng, who is going to be one of the presenters also. And these guys are new. First time they are participating in our Sankofa political studies. So I want to welcome all of you. And also since I'm the general coordinator, and then good that you've seen the video already. I was not present for when we started it because I had another meeting. So welcome all of you for this Sankofa political studies. You can see that our presenters are well prepared for this, and pass the message to your friends, to your brothers and sisters, that this is what we need to be doing now. This is what we need to be having now. We should be equipping ourselves with these informations, and we have people who are well prepared to give us this information for free. Outside there, you have to pay heavily for it, but we are doing it as a foundation for free, since we have the capacity and we have the means to do that. So I welcome all of you, and let us make good use of this opportunity. Let us also share it to others. Let us not just have this good thing for ourselves. Let's share it to others. So our next meeting, we hope to get more people, more persons that are following and all that. So thank you very much for all of you who have come, and we hope to see you again next time. So over to you, Kunle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can see also some people present. I can see Augusto from Angola. I can see Echo. Then, of course, all of us were already in Rome. And if we miss out anybody, please kindly understand. Felix, you cannot run away from the question. The question is, what remains with you as a person after all this research?
No, what remains with me, I think I've said it also implicitly, like I should take to conscience now, if I have not before, also the fact of my identity as a Black man, and also to become a legacy of Franz Fanon, by propagating this idea. Not just that it is his idea, it is a truth that is not just objective, but it is a truth in itself. So I should not go for that. I've become a legacy of Fanon. Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
A moment, please.
Okay.
Denny is following us from Nigeria on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah. Sir Silvia, vuoi dire qualcosa da Cotonou?
Si sta preparando.
Ok.
Sì.
Magari si è alzata un attimo. Vabbè, perché la vedo collegata comunque.
Sì, ancora collegata anche, mi sa che c'è il microfono anche acceso.
Ah, ok.
Okay.
Bene.
So we greet every other person present. I can also see Abisola there. Abisola is one of those who have contributed also for the youth journal that we are about to publish. So thanks for your contribution, and for every other people who have been contributing. We actually appreciate your efforts. Ok. Qualcuno vuole dire ancora qualcosa? Altrimenti possiamo anche concludere questa prima puntata, che è stato veramente anche un'occasione di arricchirsi molto sulla questione. Quindi potete sempre andare su YouTube a vedere le cose che facciamo, è tutto registrato lì. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channels, because following what we do, the activities helps us also in many ways to be able to move on with what we do. So, and like the GC said, it's been offered for free, but it's also a lot of things were also invested into it. So your personal generosity in any form is also welcome. If you want to be one of those presenters and everything, for even the coming ones, you can already put your name down so that we can contact you in the next session when we will be having the presentations. Or if you think there's any way you think you can help and to move the foundation forward. Thank you very much, and it's my joy to sign off from this side, and I say see you next time. Otep.
Otep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, guarda chi c'è qui. Augusto.